Hello, I'm Dick.
And I'm Eric, and we're the Annuity Guys.
Eric, deciding how much to put in each company when it comes to annuities, really diversifying, it's a big question that folks have, and it's all over the board.
Well, usually most people are just counting on their advisor to say, hey, all right, so I'm looking at so you decided you're going to purchase an annuity.
Right.
So the question then is, how much? And unfortunately, for a lot of advisors, it's
easier. It's easier to say, put everything in this one annuity that's best. It does everything you want it to do, income growth, and we know that's not true. But a lot of times, just out of convenience, it's much easier for an advisor to write one application. Yeah. I mean, that's obviously going to be more of a salesman type advisor. It's not going to be a true planner. But to put a lot of money in, write one or two applications, make it real simple. Bing bada boom.
Thank you, wham bam, thank you. You're out of the door, and we're on to the next person. So it makes it a lot more streamlined. So it's not unexpected if you see just one option. And a lot of times it'll be based off of how many options you've been shown.
Yeah, exactly. So really, what's the right way? I mean, when we start thinking about this, I mean, what is the right way that folks should be looking at? First of all, they shouldn't just be diversified in annuities. They should be diversified in many different types of investments. As a rule, liquid accounts and growth accounts and annuities. But if we talk about the annuity portion,
just the annuity,
just diversifying that. I mean, let's talk about what's prudent. What makes more sense?
Well, let's talk about the things in immediate consideration.
Yes.
If someone is looking for the utmost in security and safety.
Right.
A lot of times the conversation, and usually the client brings it up, well, what's my guarantee? What's the backing behind it?
Exactly.
And then, of course, that kind of generates the conversation about the guarantee association.
Yes.
Depending on your state and what the backings are and how much is covered under that. Mm-hmm. So and there your ranges are 100,000 up to 500,000, and that kind of range of what the coverage is for an individual state. So that may be the first part of the conversation.
Yeah. Well, we always have a caveat here and say, that an advisor should never be selling an annuity based on a guarantee association, but having a candid conversation about what's covered and what isn't, looking at primarily at the claims paying ability of the company to make a decision on an annuity. But that does play into the diversification aspect.
Right. And
I know, in the past and even to some degree today, some of the annuity companies will actually ask, have you taken the Guarantee Association into consideration? And since you're not really supposed to talk about it, I guess what? You're supposed to, behind the scenes with the customer not knowing, you're supposed to consider that. So there's reasons why some folks will kind of ignore the Guarantee Association, and they're more than willing, say if their state only guarantees $250,000, they're still more than willing to put $1 million or 500,000 into the annuity because they feel good about the company.
The company, and usually the benefit.
Yes.
It's not just the company, but it's saying this. Sometimes you have one company that stands out head and shoulders above everything else.
Exactly.
And obviously the question is, you've looked at one and maybe 1A or 1B. Yes. Sometimes it's 1 and 2. There's a separate delineation between the benefits between two companies. And then it's, you have to make the decision, is it worth dividing it up for maybe a degree of safety or convenience?
Right.
When you have so much more that's benefited by one company.
Yeah, you're trading off. You're going for another higher degree of safety for a little bit less benefit by choosing, a company that's not being as generous. So I think again, we would say in most circumstances it's prudent to divide your money up, not put all your eggs in one basket, whatever it is.
It's prudent to definitely look at the considerations of what you're looking at.
Yes.
Now, when you have an A+ rated carrier or something that has hundreds of years of history, you may feel more comfortable with somebody and having more of a allocation to that option than you would if this were looking at something that's a B-rated carrier and it might have the best options. We might then say, let's really think about what's prudent for you. So that's obviously a couple of the considerations.
Well, it also makes a big difference how much money someone has.
Yes.
And it can kind of go both ways. I mean, folks that have a large amount of money, they may want to just divide it up into buckets that, hit that guarantee association amount and diversify between the companies. They may also feel that, hey, just like you were talking, this one company is so much better.
Right.
I've got additional money. I'm not worried about it.
Right.
I trust this company, and this is going to solve my need. But then we talk about folks that have way less money.
Yeah.
Now, Eric, and I mean, not to make light of it, because it's very important. If all you've saved is $50,000 or $100,000 for your retirement, you don't want to lose it.
Correct.
So, but then folks come to us like, well, I've got $75,000. How many companies should I divide it up into?
Yeah. And that's usually, it's again, we're getting back to the safety and the degree of safety.
Right.
Obviously, again, if you're looking at a company that's got hundreds of years of history and an A+ rating, there's probably not a need to divide it.
No, and you probably need the best company you can get for your $75,000 to make it work for you.
You're looking for the benefit level there, typically, and but it's making sure. And my philosophy is, I'll never recommend a company that I don't think is going to be here as long as you are.
Yeah,
and that's really, I think, the criteria for whatever that contractual guarantee. And if we're looking for something with a lifetime income benefit, obviously there's some certain amount of prudence to make sure that we feel confident they're going to be here as long as they are.
Oh, absolutely. One thing that I know that we have frequently done, and it's along these lines, but it's really not diversification per company. It's how many contracts. Yeah. Do we take, say someone is putting, $400,000 in, company A and $300,000 in company B. Why don't we just write one $400,000 contract for company A and one for $300,000 for company B?
And you can do that. Although what we like to do is a lot of times for structuring it for flexibility.
Yeah.
It may be looking at a couple $100,000 in each of those buckets, dividing it up for flexibility. A lot of it is based off the clients, what their terms are, what their expectations are. And if you've got multiple contracts, there's an added degree of flexibility. A lot of times, especially if we're looking at income riders, triggering them at different points. You never like the idea of thinking about necessarily having to surrender a contract or something happens that requires you to get, an emergency happens, unforeseen, you have to get in there and get money out. If you had to surrender a partial contract or one contract versus surrendering a partial contract of a full, it can make a difference. The benefits are significantly changed.
Right, and it works in just the planning process for laddering and this type of thing. So again, I think that this is where folks really want to fall back on an advisor or some serious planning, when using annuities, especially on a more advanced level. So again, if we were just to say to folks, how much do you want to put per company? Can you give us an exact answer on that, Eric?
Sure.
Help the folks out.
The exact answer is it depends.
Well, and this is where really you want to work with somebody that can help you figure out what depends means, and then you do have an exact answer.
There you go.